Therapists and psychiatrists have rated what is the best, most uplifting recovery journey you've ever witnessed. Coming into this one late, but I work with children in social services as a trauma therapist teacher. So the shit I see is pretty horrific sometimes. I had a kid a few years ago who will stick with me forever. PTSD at 4 years old from seeing some really awful things. Things that damn adults into lifetimes of isolation and depression. And my job was to try to get this kid equipped to handle the kindergarten classroom. A little info here: when young children experience trauma, one way they may communicate this is through mimicking their experiences. Sometimes in social interactions, sometimes in play. This child had this symptom. Essentially, I had a 4-year-old acting like a psychopathic, abusive, alcoholic grown man. Every day we documented the bruises and marks he left on me. For 2 years he bit, spat at, shat on, hit, kicked, and slapped me. Some days I felt like I was getting to him. Most days I went into the staff bathroom and either punched the paper towel dispenser, or went home and drank myself to sleep. He spat a used band-aid into my mouth, threw his own shit into my eyes, bit through my wrist, which, yeah, was all every bit as horrific as it sounds. But I kept trying. Everyone did. We loved him. We never let him know how stressed he made us, or how much we had to brace and prepare ourselves for sessions with him. We never told him that we dreaded some days, knowing we were just too tired, but had to do it all anyways. 5 days a week, intensive outpatient care, and it felt like we were getting nowhere. And that was it. He came to me that way, and he left me that way. The day he graduated the program I cried, got heavily drunk, and prayed his kindergarten teacher would show him half the love and grace I'd been able to. Only a few months into kindergarten, that teacher reached out to me. We had Roy from his IEP process, but I never thought I'd hear anything after school started. I usually don't, and she said he was doing amazing. The medication we hadn't seen work had started to balance things. The skills we taught over and over and over and over, he was using them. He had friends where everyone had been scared of him before. He played with other children. He colored. He walked into school happy to be there and left happy to go home. She was describing to me a child I had never met, but had helped create. Working with littles is discouraging, because I often don't see the fruits of my labor. If I am lucky, I can help identify ongoing traumas and put a stop to them so that the next specialist can treat it. If I am even luckier, the child may be able to function in kindergarten better because of something I said or did correctly, but I usually don't know. If I am unlucky, the grooming is so deep and so hurtful that the children give me very little to go off of, and I send them to school with little more than a lying parent and a wrist-thick binder of documentation that led nowhere. And my buddies on speed dial with CPS do their best. They do. But there's only so much we can do when a family really wants to hide something. I have to remind myself often that my job is really just to plant a seed of healing, and that I am doing it for the functioning adult they will get to be someday, whom I will never meet, so that their middle school teachers never realize what a broken child they had to be at this time, and their future spouses and children benefit from the love they've learned and skills they've had mentored into them. But duck if it isn't hard some days. Most days. All of them. Duck if it isn't so goddamn hard. I am glad I do this. That all of us do. Social services is savage and unforgiving. We need more good people in it. I hope the kids I am helping benefit and turn into the recovery journeys everyone here is describing, but unfortunately, I rarely ever really know. Edit to Ab, thank you all so much for the kind replies. It means a lot to me. You real being so positive and uplifting. It means more than you know. What a way to start my morning, by seeing all of those comments. Know that I am no special person in any way. There's thousands of us doing what I do. We all have the means to make a difference, and we should all try to do so in whatever place we replanted. This is just where I do my work. You can promote change and growth whenever you do. No place is too insignificant. You are possibly one of the bravest of people. Therapist here. Withholding information for privacy reasons. Kids for me are really rewarding and inspiring to work with. One kid growled and yelled at me. Wouldn't he talk to me at all? Fought and stole from kids. He had severe trauma of all kinds at a really young age and wasn't he given a chance. Refused to attend classes at school. By the end he did a complete 180. Not just because of counseling, but also great support from the school. But his transformation was incredible. He went from yelling and growling out of anger to verbalizing hurt it stemmed from. It was truly amazing. Thank you for what you did. I was one of those kids anger management problems. Prone to fits of violence. Sometimes getting to that primal uncontrollable level with growling and complete emotional breakdown. It took years to work through all of it and build healthy defense mechanisms for myself when I feel those emotions welling up. But the first thing that really fixed me was when my mom, who is also a therapist, sat me down at an age I could begin to express myself and just listen. To just sit there and listen to a kid explain why they're angry or sad or afraid will oftentimes help the kid understand for the first time themselves. At that age we haven't developed reason or logic at any real level, and you need someone to help you figure out why it is you're feeling those things you're feeling. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I always love hearing stories where people thrive in the way you did. It's also a great reminder for me that sometimes just listening is enough. I forget that sometimes and feel like I need to offer something to my clients at times. As many other therapists mentioned, we can't share many things because of confidentiality, but here is something I can share. Anytime a previously depressed, disinterested, apathetic, or suicidal client tells me about a new hobby or passion, I get so excited. Doesn't matter what it is. Dungeons and Dragons, pet rats, growing herbs, 3D printing, anime, video games, geocaching. I don't know about any of those things, but if my client is excited about it, I am over the moon and I want to hear all about it. Seeing them find a passion for something, no matter if it is something that I personally find weird or boring, that is a part of my job that I love, and I will sit and listen and cheer them on, and I will leave that session feeling so happy. Seriously. My therapist really pushed me into getting a hobby and I picked up lathe and started turning pens. I ended up turning punts, so intended it into a successful side business before the end of the year. I can 100% say that her pushing me to do this was one of the reasons I'm still alive today. She gets really excited when I talk to her about turning and my business, and seeing this point of view makes me appreciate her even more. Thank you for what you do. Truly an unsung hero. One that stands out most was a woman who had used heroin, alcohol, and crack for all of her adult life. She was homeless, had never really held a job, and had multiple legal problems due to her drug use. At 50 something, she had decided to get clean, and did so for several months, until her child was murdered. She had a brief relapse, but got clean again. In 4 years, she sorted out her legal issues, reconnected with her family, left her abusive partner, obtained her own housing, volunteered regularly, and completed a 4-year degree. I can't imagine having gone from a complete street lifestyle, enduring the worst tragedy one can imagine newly sober, and then entering and excelling in academia. Honestly, it is not the huge stories that stand out. It is little things that people accomplished during their recovery. A person meeting their grandchild for the first time because they've gotten clean. A person that always wanted to go to the circus but had never gone because money always went to drugs. A person finishing school or actually keeping a job. A person leaving an abusive relationship and excelling. A person finally reaching out to family and getting an answer back or kind words after years of broken promises. When I was using heroin, I knew a woman who had her master's degree framed and hanging on the wall. She had a knack for interior design and seemed to really care about other people, as long as she was well had dope. This was a smart, resourceful woman that had a bright future. She also shot up heroin and meth daily, smoked a pack a day, and kept a pint of bottom shelf whiskey in her purse that she would take pulls of. Throughout the day, she had an 8-year-old son that her mother took care of, and she only saw once a month or so. Just before I got clean, she got pregnant again. The pregnancy was into the 2nd month when she knew for sure, and she had been using all these substances heavily during that time. She told me that she was pregnant when she began to show maybe 3 months in or so, when she told me we had just picked up from our dealer. We were in her bathroom and she was sitting on the toilet trying to find a vein to inject a mixture of heroin and meth. But she was having trouble as most of her good veins had long ago given up the ghost. As an active user at the time, I'm ashamed to say that I really did not care. I needed to get well myself, as my nose dripped and the specter of dope sickness loomed in the back of my mind. I assumed that she had aborted or, more likely, miscarry, but she said she wanted another child. She was keeping it, and that she had given up drinking and smoking. Well, she still had a cigarette here and there, but she was trying. Yeah, right. I thought to myself, you literally just push the plunger down on 60 cc's of dope and ice. But at least you stopped drinking 2 months in. I got clean soon after, not because of this situation, but for my own reasons. I got a call from her a few months later, in which she said she was clean and doing well. I hope that was and is still true. That was over a year ago, and I believe she carried the baby to term. I drive by her house sometimes. I have seen her dog outside and caught a glimpse of her once or twice. I think that I saw some baby stuff, but I'm not sure if the baby was born. I hope the drugs did not affect it too badly. I hope that she is still clean, and I hope she is able to finally make use of that master's in social work, so that it is not just a piece of paper hanging on a wall anymore. Edit 60 units, not CCS. Had a client with chronic illnesses. She was often sick or in pain and felt terribly guilty for not being able to care for her family when she had really bad days. On the days when she felt good, she would push herself to her absolute limit by cooking and cleaning and fitting in as much family time as she could before she felt sick again. Inevitably, she would wake up the next day feeling way worse than she did previously because she overextended herself. This became a rather predictable cycle. It took months to convince her to slow down a little on the days she felt good and to take care of herself on those days too, so that her good days might last a little longer, and to stop feeling guilty for her bad days. She was able to find a balance and improve her overall quality of life. She did amazingly, and I still think about her from time to time. It has been 10 years. I hope she is still killing it. Thank you everyone for the awards and comments. And thank you to everyone who shared their stories. To everyone who is recovering and doing well. I'm so proud of you. To everyone still struggling, take care of yourselves. I am rooting for you. This sounds an awful lot like my fiancée. She is currently in a self-referral mental health facility since she has become suicidal. To get some space to gather herself and to not be a burden to me, which she is not. I'd do anything for her. It makes me happy to know that people come back from this point. Edit. Thanks everyone for the kind words. It is very much appreciated at the trying time. You real beautiful people. Wishing you guys all the best. Friend. Almost killed myself in college, taking 23 credits. Working 2 jobs. Way over exercising. But mostly profoundly depressed. I had been struggling with eating disorders. Self-harm in the form of those eating disorders, forcing myself to throw up because I did something bad. Even if I had not eaten all day, I really spiraled after the sexual harassment I experienced came to light, and the professor who did it was fired. I felt so guilty. I had been assaulted before, so it felt like it was not a big deal. But other people who knew about it reported it, and he was fired since my testimony proved a pattern. I was lying in bed, trying not to kill myself. I told my friend I just wanted to die, and half joked about the nickel in my desk drawer. He came to my room and got me, took me to the clinic, and checked me in. I was sent to a hospital and put into a psychiatric clinic. I remember I desperately did not want to tell my parents. I was so ashamed. I called my dad, and he laughed, not at me, but he said, "We are on the same schedule." He was checked into a psychiatric ward almost to the day his same year in college. My mom just cried. I started on antidepressants and started going to therapy to deal with my trauma from my childhood sexual abuse that I really only half remembered, my years-long eating disorder, the bullying I experienced in middle and high school, and just my profound emptiness. I cannot even express to you what it felt like to wake up one morning and not want to die. to just be thankful to be alive, to want to do things. It was like hot chocolate, or jumping into a pool, or the first bite of key lime pie. I was walking down to the cafeteria to make a peanut butter jelly, where literally 2 weeks earlier I had cried for 2 hours because they were out of peanut butter when I had went. I actually could not remember the last time I did not want to die, at least in some way. My grades never suffered, but they got better, and I was better able to handle the stress. I stood up for myself in my next relationships. I became more confident, and I eventually met my husband. We have been married for almost 6 months now. I'm off antidepressants. Have been for a while. And while I still face setbacks and sadness, I can confidently say that I do not want to die, which is something high school and college me never would have imagined. ISNT 23 credits like 6 or 7 classes. That's absolutely insane, especially on top of your jobs. I couldn't do half of what you were attempting back then. I am really glad you're in a better place now. I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist and I have not been in a recovery journey. However, there was this girl on my class at high school who must have had some kind of trauma, because she almost never spoke, and when she did, it was almost like a whisper. She must have felt really anxious around people, because she would always secretly escape during school day trips to go home. My friend and I took her with us. We were a bit of outcasts already, but she could not communicate well. Even when we asked her questions about her hobbies etc. Talking made her really uncomfortable. So we just let her hang around. And she did follow us for all high school. Many years later I saw her by chance on the street and she talked to me with a normal voice tone. We had a whole conversation. And she was fashionable. And had a husband who adores her. Later she got pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. She is the biggest transformation I have ever seen. And I'm so happy for her. Sounds like selective mutism. Just letting her hang with you without the expectation of talking probably did wonders for her. Not a therapist but a patient. I saw this psychologist for a year and was suicidal. She taught me how to talk myself out of suicidal thoughts and literally saved my life. I stopped seeing her because I did not need to anymore. Years later, I was raped, and my GP told me that I should see a psychologist, even if I did not think I needed to. I went back to her. We had a good chat and I thanked her for saving my life back in the day, because she did. She said no, you did all the work, and held a straight face, but I'm pretty sure she teared up. She was a great psychologist. I'm so glad that you had that experience with a psychologist. She was right though. Their purpose is not to fix us, but to show us how to fix ourselves. I wish you the best on your path to recovery. I'm a patient. I've been battling my mental disorders for over 30 years. I wish I could thank my therapists and psychiatrists who have kept me alive. I would like to thank all of you for what you do on a daily basis. I honestly love my therapist and my psychiatrist so much. I could sing their praises endlessly. I am still trying to get to a better place, but the amount of effort they put in, and how hard they try, is just overwhelming sometimes. I can tell that they care. They really don't get enough props for what they do.